Good morning. Anybody on? Hello.
Hi, I'm here.
Yes, hello everyone. Just as a reminder, just letting everyone know that we are now streaming, so just letting you know.
Okay, great. Commissioner Grady, how are you, sir?
Doing well yourself?
I'm well. I'm well.
Can I do a quick audio check? Can you guys hear me?
Yankee, yes, sir. I can hear you just fine. How are you?
Doing great, thank you.
Good. Let me do a video check too. Can you see me?
All right. Well, I'll just hang on the line.
There.
I'm sorry?
I can see you.
My man.
Hey, everybody.
Mr. Bryson, how are you?
I had my second surgery Thursday, Stephen, and I, like an idiot, slipped and fell over the weekend, had to go to the emergency room Saturday, and had to go to the surgeon again today for him to check it. So I'm so embarrassed.
Are you serious?
Serious. I mean, the stitches, it was bleeding and everything. My hands are so swollen, but other than that, I'm okay.
All right. So
Embarrassed.
I'm going to have to talk to Miss Sister there.
It's not her fault. She's a great nurse. It's my clumsiness.
Well, I was gonna say that doesn't sound like her now. That's for sure. Well, I'm delighted to know that you were able to join us today, Commissioner Bryson.
Thank you. So I'm going to be eating a sandwich, but I read all of my work.
There you go.
I was
Amen.
at the surgeon's office for hours, but I'm okay.
Well, we're glad you're okay. I tell you what, that's that's tough. Glad
Yeah,
you're okay.
well, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, I'm gonna get off. I'll be listening and participating. I'm gonna put this part on mute now.
Very good. Okay.
Okay.
Mr. Price, was there anyone that indicated that they would not be here today, the Planning Commission?
I'm sorry, no, sir. Sorry, I was muted. I believe the only person that's missing would be Miss Carnes.
Okay. All right. Well, it's 3:00. And I do believe that we have enough commissioners to begin the meeting with a quorum. So if that be the case, is the staff ready to go, Mr. Price?
Yes, sir.
All right, very good. I'd like to call the March 1st Planning Commission meeting to order. Please allow me to read into the record. In accordance with the Freedom of Information Act, a copy of the agenda was posted on radio, television stations, in newspapers, and given to persons that have requested the information regarding the meeting, as well as posted on the bulletin board in the County Administration Building. And so on behalf of the Richland County Planning Commission, we welcome all of those that are in attendance today and those that are viewing via live stream. The first item on our agenda today is our consent agenda. And the chair will entertain a motion on the consent agenda. Usually Ms. Carnes is the one that
I'm here.
Oh, there she is. All right, very good. Very good.
I am. Sorry, I can even turn my video on. So I have to ask staff in terms of cases that we have any comments on from the public.
The only comments that we have, and again, those were sent out to you earlier today, but the only comments that we have are from the applicants, and we have one comment in support of, and that was for case 21-007 MA.
Okay, so all right, so to the commission, case number 2, 3, 4, and 6, which were recommended for approval. Is there anyone on the commission that would like to hear discussion on those? And hearing nothing.
I'd like to request discussion on case number 6.
Which one? I'm sorry, I didn't hear you, Jason.
Case 21-008 MA, that's number 6 on the agenda.
Okay.
And I would also request discussion on case 21-006 MA, item 4.
Okay.
Okay.
So we will, so what I'd like to do is to amend the consent agenda to remove case number 1, which is MA 20-036, case number 4, which is item number 4, case number 21-006, case 21-007, item 5, as well as item 6, case 21-008. So those will be removed from the consent agenda, and we'll have discussion on those.
So the only cases we have the consent are items 2 and 3. Am I correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
Okay. Is there? I'm sorry, Mr. Dennis.
I had a breakup, so I didn't hear any of that. Which case are we talking about? I'm sorry.
Okay.
It's okay. It's
no
okay.
worries. No worries.
I wanted to talk about case number 5, 21-007, but I don't know if anybody else does or so.
Yeah, the key is that the cases that are disapproval, we always pull. But so the only ones that we will not have discussion on based on the motion that I made are cases number 2, 21-004, and number 3, 21-005. Those, the plan is to leave those on the consent agenda.
Okay, cool. I didn't hear it the first time. I'm good.
Okay.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor of the consent agenda being amended as proposed, please signify by roll call vote. Price.
Okay. Gilchrist,
Aye.
Carnes,
Aye.
Yonke, Carlisle,
Aye.
Dennis,
Aye.
Grady,
Aye.
Taylor,
Aye.
Branham,
Aye.
Frierson.
Aye.
All right.
All right. Thank you all very much. Moving right along, case number 1.
Mr. Chair, the first item is case 20-36 MA. The applicant is Joginder Paul. The location is 7430 Fairfield Road. The applicant is requesting to rezone this parcel from 2 acres, this parcel of 2 acres from Crane Creek 4 to Crane Creek 3. And I believe in your packet, we do have a brief zoning district summary of those 2 zoning designations. Staff has recommended disapproval of this request as the proposed rezoning would allow for a range of residential and commercial uses that are not consistent with the neighborhood low density designation as set forth in the comprehensive plan. Also, the subject parcel is not located within a contextually appropriate distance from the intersection of a primary arterial or within a neighborhood activity center, which that's also recommended by the comprehensive plan for commercial development. In addition, the proposed rezoning is consistent, even though the proposed rezoning is consistent with the goals and recommendations of the Crane Creek Neighborhood Master Plan, as it would transition industrially zoned properties to commercial and allow for development of local retail services. Again, although the proposed district is consistent with the master plan's goal, it would allow for general intensity of uses more than the recommended neighborhood scale that's supportive and retail services. Additionally, the proposed land use under the Crane Creek plan designates the area to be light industrial uses, which it is currently used under the CC4. So for this, staff recommends disapproval of this request.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Price. Are there any questions for the staff? Mr. Price, I'm sorry, Mr. Dennis, go right ahead.
We did not receive any comments for this, correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
No, sir, no letters of opposition, and we did reach out to the applicant to try to get some comments in. We thought we would have had them in by now, but as of this point, we have not received those.
Thank you, Mr. Dennis. Thank you, Mr. Price. Any additional comments for the staff? Mr. Price, you know, this comes up quite a bit, and you're probably going to get me for asking this question again. But often when we see within a contextually appropriate distance from the intersection of a primary arterial, what's your definition as you guys define that? How do you define that in terms of being an appropriate distance?
That's always a good question that you like to ask, Mr. Chair.
I just always find that to be interesting as we look at these proposals and from the standpoint of how did we come up with what an appropriate distance would be from an intersection of a primary arterial, and it may not be a definition of that, but that potentially might be something that we can fix or at least address in our new code. But anyway, if there's no answer to it, that's fine.
I mean, it's a matter of, I'm sorry, go back and look at this. We could have just changed the word agreeable instead of contextually appropriate. But when we look at it, is it agreeable to the comprehensive recommendations of being located at along a main road corridor? And of course, within a contextually appropriate distance from the intersection of a primary arterial. So our opinion is that this is not, within an agreeable distance from the intersection of a primary arterial.
But, okay, so I have a question. I'm sorry. Is the question
go right ahead, Ms. Carnes.
answered? I mean, from that, so this is like a whole little area of sort of commercial development that's along Fairfield Road here. So is all of that development not consistent with the comp plan?
Ms. Carnes?
Yes.
I would say as it exists, most likely not. For this area to be the residential low density, I believe that's right. Yeah, for the neighborhood low density. No, this is a generally industrial area, and so in most cases, this would not be something that supports the comp plan, or the comp plan would not support recommending more generally or broadly within that future land use designation. No.
But I mean, but all of these businesses are in essence not consistent with the comp plan, but it looks as if this request is consistent with what's around itself. We're not expanding a use into an area that doesn't otherwise have it. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I would say yes, but so one of the things that we also have here that we're taking into consideration is the adopted Crane Creek master plan area. And so one of the things that it looks like is not, and this is where it gets a little confusing here, because the Crane Creek plan kind of has two different conflicting statements with itself. Is it recommends this area for specifically industrial land uses, but then it has a goal to not expand industrial uses, that commercial should be neighborhood servicing, support service commercial. But in that context, we're looking at it where this is an industrial area where it should continue to be industrial. So that change from industrial use district to a more so kind of, I'd say probably something more akin between the NC and the GC as part of the Crane Creek designation, where it's much more specific to commercial versus these industrial uses that exist and that zoning that exists here.
Okay, I'm trying to. I mean, to me, it's one of those challenges about trying to remember which, I think that's just one of those empty buildings along there. So the comp plan says this should be residential. The Crane Creek plan says it should stay industrial. And these guys are trying to knock it down a little bit, like downzone it a bit. Probably to get something, yeah, that.
And Mr.
It's,
Chair,
it's the building that's there.
could I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
Brandon, go right ahead.
Thanks. So if the zoning history just indicates that that district was assigned to that parcel in coordination with the adoption of the Crane Creek master plan. And then I also noted that just in 2019, at a previous request to rezone to the same designation as being requested today, that was denied by county council. If there had been a strong enough inclination for a different usage for those parcels, they could have just gone ahead and zoned it for something non-industrial. And then these uses would have just continued as non-conforming uses until something else changed, right?
Right.
Yeah, okay.
Is that it, Mr. Brandon?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Ms. Carnes, anything additional? Are there any other commissioners that would like to weigh in on this case? If not, Chair will entertain a motion regarding case number 20-036MA. Any motions?
I can make a motion, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Brandon, thank you.
Send this case 20036 to County Council with the recommendation of disapproval for the reasons set forth by the staff.
Thank you, Mr. Brandon. Is that second?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and properly second that we send case number 20-036MA forward to council with the recommendation of disapproval based upon staff's recommendation. All in favor signify by roll call vote. Mr. Price.
Gilchrist,
Aye.
Carnes,
No.
Yonke,
Aye.
Carlisle,
No.
Dennis,
Aye.
Grady,
Aye.
Taylor,
Aye.
Branham,
Aye.
Frierson.
No.
Okay, the motion passes 6-3.
Okay. And again, we are a recommending body to county council. They will meet on March the 23rd to take up this case again. So for those that have interest in this particular case, please feel free to join the public session at that time. Thank you very much. Okay, Mr. Price, we'll move on to the next case.
Okay, the next item is case 21-006 MA. The applicant is requesting to rezone 308 plus acres along Wilson Boulevard and Nina Lee Drive from PDD to RSE, which Planned Development District, to residential single-family estate. Staff recommends approval of this request as it is consistent with the objectives outlined in the comprehensive plan. It's further stated in your packet. The plan recommends low-density residential as the primary use, where the area serves as a transition between rural and neighborhood medium-density areas, and are opportunities for low-density traditional neighborhood development and open space developments that preserve open spaces and natural features. And the RSE district, as requested, would allow for the development that is consistent with these objectives. Kind of go back, and I probably should have started off with this. This case, actually, this property is probably familiar to all of the Planning Commission members as it came before you late last year. I want to say probably around September, October.
Now we got people knocking on the door saying, do you own this place? Do you want to sell?
Take his license number. Take his license number.
I don't know if I can see that far away.
Okay. I heard him.
I think we have some interference in that.
Muted and blocked the thing.
Look, son.
Okay, sorry about that. So I'll go back. So again, this came before you late last year, probably October. Went before County Council, and at County Council, the request was denied. Planning Commission previously recommended approval for this request, but when it got to County Council, it was denied. During that time, the applicant questioned the actual request where they were going from. We had it as going from rural to RSE. Once staff had a chance to, do a little further research into that, it came to the conclusion that staff's interpretation of a provision that was in our code that was adopted in 2005 was incorrect, and that while the property, the general development plan for the PDD was voided as per that section of the code in 2005, the rezoning of the property still remained PDD. The zoning of the property remained PDD. Thus, you have land that has a zoning designation with no allowed land uses. So what's coming before you is actually the actual request of going from PDD to RSE. As stated previously, it was thought that it was going from rural to RSE, but it's actually going from PDD to RSE. And that is why you have it back before you as quickly as we would, because normally once a request is denied, you have to wait 1 year to reapply. But because what was before you previously was not correct, we've allowed this to come back before you.
Okay, are there any additional questions for the staff?
If I could, question.
Mr. Branham?
Is it on the table of contents, it was, the acreage was listed as 250 acres. Is it 250 or is it 308?
Actually 308. Let's see where you see where do you see the 250? Excuse me, Mr. Brown.
It's up on the agenda.
This one parcel.
Anyway, okay, 308.
Apologies, it's 308, and we'll make that correction.
And can you tell us anything about the terms of usage, permitted uses under the PDD designation that's currently in place?
Currently, there are no permitted uses allowed within the current PDD.
Okay.
Yeah, again, and this was a new one for us, but under the previous, when we first adopted our land development code back in 2005, our current land development code, there was a provision within there. It was under section 26-59K, again, of the 2005 version of the Richland County Land Development Code, where it stated, if the plan development is not initiated within 2 years of this establishment, the development approval shall automatically expire and the county council may initiate a rezoning to another zoning district classification. It is staff's interpretation that the development approval within their is intended to be the general development plan, essentially what the zoning uses and standards that are allowed within the PDD. So if that is voided, but no action by county council was taken to initiate a rezoning to another district classification. So what you have is property with a zoning designation, but no allowed uses, or at least no outlined uses or development standards.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Ms. Carnes?
Yeah, I had a question for Mr. Price. I mean, was this not some of the land that we were asked about a few months ago for a Richland County business park kind of thing?
I don't believe it was.
I thought that was right in this. Do you recall what I'm referencing?
For business park?
I'm recalling some of that, Ms. Carnes. That was the proposal by the economic development team. Was that right?
Yes.
I believe that this would have been further up Wilson Boulevard. This is, which would have been more north going toward Blythewood. We did have some parcels that did come before you by the economic development department of the Richland County, but not for this parcel.
Okay. That's weird. I totally thought this was where that was. Okay, my mistake.
Okay, any additional questions for the staff?
If I might.
Yeah, Mr. Yonke, go right ahead. I mean, Mr. Grady.
Sure. So I definitely recall when we talked about this the last time around, and I guess the discussion that Mr. Price had about how this zoning came to be is somewhat clarifying. I guess the first question I would have is, do we have, so is this 06-038 MA when this PDD was put into place that then sort of expired? Do we have any information on what the initial plan for this piece of land was when that rezoning happened?
Yes, sir. I can pull that information for you to kind of give you an idea of what was previously allowed.
Okay.
Just give me 1 second, please.
Okay.
Okay, I can give you a land use breakdown that was approved for the PDD development. It would have allowed for 7.38 acres of general commercial, 2.04 acres of office institutional use, a little less than an acre for neighborhood commercial, 43 acres for high density residential multifamily use, 6.9 acres for residential single family high density use, 157 acres of residential single family medium density use, and 80.89 acres for rural development, which was going to be left undeveloped. So in a nutshell, it would have allowed 378 units of medium density single family, 44 units of single family high density, 260 units for multifamily development, 4 units of neighborhood commercial, 18 units for office and institutional use, and 6 out parcels for general commercial.
Okay. So, and this was the concern I articulated the last time through, I think, was the issue, and you discuss it here, the issue that essentially sort of the front 2 parcels of this rezoning request are within this neighborhood activity center designation, which is described in the plan as being medium density and mixed use. And, I have concerns that if we rezone this entire 308 acres as estate residential, that is fairly fundamentally at odds, I think, with the neighborhood activity center designation for that that intersection of Wilson and Coon River, I believe. So I guess the question is the sense of the staff that the original proposal is more at odds than this request in terms of sort of deviation from the comprehensive plan?
Yes, sir. If if looking at what was permitted previously, and then once you compare this to the comprehensive plan, and the recommendations of the neighborhood activity center, the neighborhood low density designation, that it would be at odds with the recommendations.
Okay. And I will say, I tuned in and to Councilwoman Barron's credit, she hosted a town hall about this rezoning request last week that I tuned into. And I certainly have some concerns about the development plan and a lot of the presentation that went into why this is optimal. And I guess this is just a situation where I'm reading the plan in a different way than staff. But I certainly respect that decision, but I have concerns about this as both from a planning standpoint of is this a good idea, as well as whether it fits within the comprehensive plan. So I'll leave it there.
Thank you, Mr. Grady. Any additional comments? Mr. Price, the briefing, and Mr. Grady or anybody from the staff, if you want to share with us what may have come out of that briefing that occurred. I was aware of that briefing on last Thursday and was unable to make it, but I'd be curious to know if there were any pearls of wisdom or thoughts that came out of that may help us as we think about this, particularly since we not too long ago entertained this particular proposal.
Mr. Chair, rest of the Planning Commission members, I feel that what came from that meeting, I don't know if it would actually be appropriate, for us to present at this time to the Planning Commission. And I state that because what was presented was really their intent, the actual layout of their development, the plans for it, showing everything that how the site would be developed. At this point, this is not what is before you. So you're not here to review the site plans or to determine whether the site plans are appropriate. What you have before you is whether the actual rezoning request is appropriate as based on the comprehensive plan. And I believe a lot of times with the Planning Commission in their review, looking at the character of the surrounding parcels.
Mr. Price, was staff at this meeting?
Staff was.
Okay, thank you. Any additional comments for the staff?
I have one.
Yes, sir, Mr. Dennis.
So at that town hall, I understand that they presented that, but was there any opposition or against or for this that happened? Because I mean, I think that's a big thing. A lot of people out in the community, they probably tuned into that town hall thinking that their opposition for or against would be heard. And now, I mean, we haven't heard anything other than what we got in the little packet. So I think that's something that needs to be looked at a lot, if there was opposition or not.
Well, the questions that seem to come about from the community dealt more with the effects that they may have during development. So you're talking about a lot dealing with flooding, potential flooding and access, not necessarily the request itself, more of how it would be developed and the impact that may occur to the surrounding properties and the communities.
Okay, so basically they just had operational questions, not so much as we don't want this.
Yeah, while I'm always up for being corrected, I believe that's how I took it. A lot of the questions dealt with, potential flooding issues, access into the property, where they were coming through the community, or it will come off of Wilson Boulevard. So those are more, again, as you said, operational. We look at that from more of a site plan, and those things will be looked at once those plans are submitted to us. But nothing that I heard was just totally against the rezoning request.
Okay. Secondly, on this site, everything that comes before this body, I try to get out and see. And I went out there and looked at this area, and to see that they're requesting it for RSS or RSE, that is definitely a change from what we see a lot of, to me. So going out there looking around, I really think that they hit the nail on the head with this one as far as what that area kind of needs. I think RSE is very, very good. So I'm willing to put a motion forward.
Thank you, Mr. Dennis. Before we get to any motions, we do have some comments regarding this particular case. Is that right, Mr. Price?
Yes, we actually have comments from the actual applicant, Richard Jackson, regarding this request, and we can read those into the record if you so desire.
Please.
Okay.
Mr. Delaney.
Hello.
You're coming out as a demo.
Mr. Cook, if you don't mind, would you go ahead and read those comments?
Sure thing, Mr. Price. So this is a letter from the applicant. Good afternoon, Planning Commission members and staff. Thank you for your time and consideration today. We have been brought through this process with you previously and greatly appreciate your recommendation for approval at that time. But due to some confusion on our site's previous zoning, we are going back through the rezoning process. This site is currently zoned as PDD, and the former master plan included commercial and high-density multifamily products. It's our belief that the master plan is expired and outdated, and the area has instead developed to support single-family construction. The county's comprehensive plan supports this notion, and the RSC zoning classification will achieve this. In keeping with the area, our current site plan calls for a completely detached single-family subdivision that will offer homeowners multiple home styles and price points. There's neither commercial nor multifamily apartments on our site. We have extensive history with the home builder selected for this site, and the determining factor in their selection was the quality of both their homes and their construction process. It's a beautiful area, and it is important to us to embrace the existing landscape instead of changing it. We will improve the infrastructure and add 2 additional retention ponds so that we do not increase the burden on water, sewer, and wetlands. Additionally, we've agreed to an amenity package to help improve the community that includes clubhouse, community pool, dog parks, tennis courts, nature trails, and gathering areas that all take advantage of the existing natural features. The builder will maintain the landscaping, common areas, and a maintenance for a significant portion of the subdivision. Our development team has spoken at length with the neighboring communities, and traffic has been a common topic of conversation. For that reason, we'd like to specifically address the plans as they pertain to road access and traffic flows. Within our access plan, we have a main entrance on Wilson Boulevard with a potentially secondary entrance, with a potentially secondary access also on Wilson Boulevard. For fire and safety purposes, our plan includes a special access point at the Nina Lee Drive and Bolston Road intersection, but that is not an entrance into the community and is not for regular traffic. This access would be for fire and emergency access only. We understand the damage and headache caused to residents in their homes following floods in previous years, and we have no intention of recreating that traffic flow through the neighborhood. Additional input from SCDOT specific to Wilson Boulevard improvements is still expected, but it is a principal goal of ours to not overburden the road or cause disruptions to traffic flow. We appreciate the time allotted to us by Planning Commission. St. Capital identified this site as an opportunity to invest in Richland County. It's a sense of pride that our team can introduce a development that enhances the landscape of the area. The rezoning classification allows us to move forward in the best way possible. Richard Jackson, Vice President.
Okay, is that all the persons we have signed up to speak?
Yes,
just the
Mr.
applicants, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you so much for that. Additional questions for the staff, Ms. Carnes?
Mr. Chair.
Oh, Ms. Price,
Oh, I apologize. I just recently received notifications regarding, some comments regarding this particular request. I would just like to go ahead and read those into the record.
Sure.
I did not have this in time to send to you in advance, but I'll read a few of those. Okay. This is from Henry Martin. I want to register my disagreement with approving this rezoning measure. It is not in character of the surrounding area, and the road or other infrastructure does not support the possibility of multiple units in the area of this location. This discussion is on your agenda for February 23rd for discussion. That was sent to Councilwoman Barron and the other council members. That was one of the comments. I'll read the second one. My name is Loretha Pittman at 148 Boston Road, Columbia, South Carolina, 29203. My husband, Charlie R. Pittman, and I purchased the above lot in the Lake Elizabeth subdivision and had a house built in 2012 to 2013. The reason for purchasing this dwelling was because there is a private, beautiful lake and the atmosphere was quiet and safe. My husband, Charlie, is a disabled Marine veteran who has also limited mobility. He suffers from several conditions relating to PTSD. As a suggestion by doctors at the VA and his private physician, Lake Elizabeth seemed to be the perfect area to live out his life. Excessive noise and crowds are major concerns that affect his condition, along with limited mobility. As you are aware, in 2015, a drastic flood occurred. The Lake Elizabeth Dam was broken and there is no longer a lake body of water. Access to Wilson Boulevard was limited for several months. During the period when the lake dam was being considered for repair and the Wilson Boulevard was eventually restored, the traffic on Boylston and Presley was hazardous and extremely unsafe for walking and running. Our grandchildren were no longer able to ride their bikes on Boylston and Presley due to the extreme traffic. I applied for bumps to be placed on the two roads that would at least slow the traffic, but my request was denied. Signs of 25 miles per hour were placed on the roads, but that did not help the situation. At times, the Boylston and Presley roads were used as racetracks. The loud noise from the road was very disturbing and unsettling. We also experienced a lot of home break-ins and thefts from our properties. There was an excessive amount of unsightly littering and dumping. Lake Elizabeth was quiet and safe neighborhood prior to the flood. Upon completion of Wilson Boulevard, our community has returned to a place of safety and peace. As I mentioned before, my husband Charlie is a disabled veteran. Presley Road is another disabled veteran who had a massive stroke 2 years ago. Prior to his stroke, he and his wife and others of us walked Boylston and Presley roads along with Nina Lee daily for exercise. Due to the stroke, he is in a motorized wheelchair. This enables him to get out of the house and go up and down the 2 roads without the fear of being run over. My husband is able to use his walker on the road safely due to the lack of traffic. I know I've gone over the 2 minutes. I just have 1 paragraph left, sir.
Go right ahead, please.
Presley and Boylston roads are 1-lane paved roads with no sidewalks. We walk on the edge of the road without fear when a car appears. Community members honor the speed limit and drive safely. Lake Elizabeth is a quiet and serene community. Even though there is not the lake because the county and state were not able to repair the dam, we enjoy our neighborhood. We have lost the value of our homes by over $90,000, but we are thankful for this peaceful, solid living. My husband and I, along with the others of this community, are in our 70s and 80s of age, and moving to another location out of fear and lack of security is not an option. We pray that the Richland County Council members will consider the residents of Lake Elizabeth and reconsider the possibility of rezoning this community. Sincerely, Laretha Pittman, 148 Boylston Road.
Okay.
And let me see if I think there was 1 more, sir. Yes. This is from Linda and Michael Connor at 9200 Wilson Boulevard. Mike and I live at 9200 Wilson Boulevard, Columbia, South Carolina, next to the property for case 21-006MA to be discussed today. There were no signs posted on Wilson Boulevard regarding this action. That is required, I believe. The letter dated 2/19/21 arrived in our mailbox on 2/27/21. We were unable to send in our comments by 2/25/21 as requested. We watched the town hall today and learned about the plan for that property. We were thinking that this might be a good thing for the neighborhood, but after the meeting, we were not on board with it. We thought that since there were 300 plus acres and that there would be 2.1 houses per acre, that would be great. But since they are keeping 160 acres free and putting 650 homes on the remaining 140 acres, that would mean there would be about 5 houses per acre. All the free space is in the back and all the houses are crammed in the front next to our property. This land is beautiful and it is a shame to ruin it. The school district is not a very good one and not really suitable for homes with children. The land would be better used for senior housing, patio homes, and then even a medical complex. We are not happy with the change in zoning. What are our options? Again, that was from Linda and Michael Connor. And that was the only other comment that I saw regarding that.
Okay. Are there any additional questions for staff on case number 21-006MA?
Mr. Chair?
Yes, sir.
I just wanted to address one of Mr. Gray's comments from earlier in regards to the activity center. So the way, Mr. Gray, the way that staff is looking at this, we kind of see it as being about 67.71 acres in total, including all of the parcels that we feel falls within that activity center. The portion of the subject site would be about 15.75 acres or 23% of that activity center as a whole. So thinking about it in terms of the size that this site would replace in terms of not being able to be necessarily used for that, more neighborhood commercial purpose is not too much, was in part why we were still looking at that being consistent with the comp plan in terms of the activity center portion.
Okay, and I certainly understand that. Is there, do we have a sense of what other land in that area is vacant or otherwise able to be repurposed for that sort of development?
I think in terms of undeveloped at this point in time, there's not too much, but most everything within that intersection area of Coonstor Road, we're seeing is that having that redevelopment potential. So for undeveloped amount, this would be that the only area would be that 15 acres for undeveloped land. but everything else we're seeing as being redevelopment potential.
Okay, that's clarifying. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Crooks. Thank you, Mr. Brady. Are there any motions on this case? Chair will entertain a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to send this to county council for approval, and citing what staff said in their comments.
Okay, Mr. Dennis. Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Great. It's been moved and properly seconded that we send case number 21-006 MA forward to council with the recommendation of approval based upon the recommendation from the county staff. If there are not any additional statements, the chair will entertain a roll call vote, Ms. Price.
All right, Gilchrist,
Aye.
Carnes,
Aye.
Yonke,
Aye.
Carlisle,
Aye.
Dennis,
Aye.
Grady,
No.
Taylor,
Aye.
Branham,
Aye.
Frierson.
Aye.
All right, that passes 8-1.
Okay, the motion passes. And again, we are a recommending body to county council, and they will meet on the 23rd of March. And so for those that have interest in this case, we encourage you to participate in that meeting. Thank you very much. And we're moving right along to the next case, Mr. Price.
So the next item is case 21-007 MA. The applicant is Jessica Haygood. The location is 1041 McCord's Ferry Road. The applicant is requesting to rezone 2 acres from rural and neighborhood commercial to light industrial, LI. Staff recommends disapproval of this request as the request is not consistent with the objectives outlined in the comprehensive plan. The plan recommends discouraging commercial development within the conservation future land use designation. And the uses allowed under the LI district would be out of character with those recommended by the plan. Again, staff recommends disapproval of this request.
Thank you, Mr. Price. Any questions for the staff? Okay.
I don't have any questions, but I got some comments about this one.
Okay, go right ahead, Mr. Dennis.
All right, so this is over there off McCord's Ferry Road, which is actually Highway 601. 6 miles north of this site is the industrial area in Kershaw County, and 14 miles south of this site is the industrial paper mill area. And then exactly 7.5 miles to the west of this is the landfill. So I'm sitting there looking around because I drove past this, I don't know how many times when I was stationed at Shaw Air Force Base, and I've seen a few shops there and whatnot, and I had a lot of questions until I received the comments and seen what they were trying to do with this. And I really think that even though this does not fit our comprehensive plan, that what they're trying to do here in this area actually pretty much fits this community. Actually using this community a lot, going down, coming off Screaming Eagle Road and eating the fried bologna sandwiches from up there at that corner store. You know, this community uses these areas a lot, and for them wanting to put that a little processing plant right there, I think that we might need to stray away from the comprehensive plan to do this. I think this would actually fit. It's not like we're looking to put another paper mill in a little conservation area. I mean, this building that sits there has already had a motorcycle repair shop. So I don't see any other reasons why we shouldn't allow this for somebody that owns this land in this area, especially if we don't have any opposition, and knowing the people in that area that have said, man, we would love to have this instead of having to drive to Kershaw County or down to Sumter County.
Mr. Chair, should we go ahead and read the comments before we continue discussion?
We will, yes, but you certainly are welcome to ask a question right now, Mr. Branham, if you wish.
No, I'm good, thanks.
Thank you. Any additional comments for the staff? Okay, Mr. Price, we do have a couple of persons signed up to speak on this particular case.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair. We have the letter from the applicant, Jessica Haygood. This email is in reference to the rezoning application case number 21-007MA. We are excited for the opportunity to relocate our established family-owned and operated deer processing business to our home county, Richland County, and believe we have located the most ideal location. Every year during deer season, hunters currently travel through Richland County to surrounding counties to take their harvest simply because there is not a deer processor in Richland County. The location submitted for rezoning approval is located between 4 established hunt clubs in Richland and Kershaw counties. Additionally, we also have an established clientele from our previous operating location in Newberry County that are eager to bring their business as well. We have proven ourselves as a reputable and profitable business by providing quality non-communal processed deer to our clients, as well as providing a safe, fun family atmosphere. We actively support and participate in SCDNR Youth Day hunting activities, ensure all SCDNR policies and regulations are followed, offer discounts to military and veterans, and offer an exciting biggest buck and biggest doe competition to our clients yearly. We thank you for considering our application and look forward to bringing our business home. Please feel free to contact Jessica Haygood, 803-546-1305 for any additional information or questions. Sincerely, Congaree Processing. And then our other comment is in support of the application from Lindsay Durer. We would really like a deer processor in Hopkins. And those are all the comments, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Crooks. Any additional questions for this case? Motions? Chair will entertain motion if there is one.
I have a comment, if I may.
Mr. Branham? Yes, sir.
I'm kind of like Mr. Dennis. On the map, when you're looking at a couple of the factors that we're asked to consider for map amendments, it doesn't look like it fits at all as far as, nearby parcels with the same classification. And the comprehensive plan even, but then, you hear a couple of comments, a little something about the area. If you've heard, like I have anecdotally from time to time, there's apparently quite a need for quality meat processing facilities in the Carolinas. I'm not in that industry, but I hear there's a shortage from at least somebody that is. It starts to make me wonder about that need and justification for the change, which is also an appropriate factor to consider, and whether that is so overwhelming that we might ought to consider doing it, even though we don't typically consider very strongly the specific proposed use. We typically just look specifically at the classification, being light industrial, and there's nothing that says they can't go in and do something other than that on those 2 acres, which is definitely kind of in the middle of a very rural area. So I'd be very interested to hear if the rest of the commission has any comments or thoughts on that.
I'll be happy to speak up.
Sure.
I think that we are charged with doing our best to ignore what the specific use is going to be, because there's no way. There is nothing that holds anything to what's being offered. It could get rezoned and tomorrow it becomes a totally different kind of site. And it doesn't mean that the applicant is lying. It just means that life happens sometimes. I think that I think the staff is correct to say, no, we should not go out in the middle of this completely rural area and designate a piece of land just barely big enough to be able to be rezoned into something that's completely non-congruous with the neighborhood. We can't do, it's spot zoning. It's completely inconsistent with anything in the area. And the fact that Richland County needs deer processing, well, we have light industrial property that could become deer processing areas. So I am completely in support of staff's recommendation on this one.
Mr. Chair,
Thank you,
this
Mr.
is
Carr.
Beverly Frierson. I'd
Yes,
like
Ms. Frierson.
to add comments in harmony with what Heather just stated. My years on the commission have taught me that we have to be very, very careful about what we do in terms of making changes, because just as she so adequately stated, once we change the zoning, we have no control as to what might go there. It might be a tattoo parlor or whatever. And as she stated also, sometimes it's not that people are lying, but once that zoning is changed, it just opens the door to other possibilities that we might not have foreseen. So in my opinion, it's best to stick to, as closely as possible, the comp plan and the staff recommendations, unless we find some, outstanding reason not to. And even though, as I listened to the other comments by some of our newer commissioners, it does seem that, okay, why can't we help this small business out? But then we open the door to a Pandora's box, so to speak. So I too am in agreement with sticking to staff recommendation in this particular instance.
Thank you, Commissioner Frierson. Mr. Price, let me ask you a question. What's the typical classification for? Do we have many processing plants here in Richland County?
You mean for deers? For deer processing?
Deer, chicken, whatever, whatever.
For that request, for that question, I think I'm going to defer that to Mr. DeLage, and I think he can probably answer that, especially when it comes for deer processing. Or maybe not.
I'm hearing some weird stuff on my end.
Yes, I think from previous discussions that I have had with him, that there aren't a lot of these type of processing plants around. And as far as for other animals, versus chicken, cows, and so on, I really couldn't address that. But I do believe looking at what some of the concerns expressed by some of the planning commission members, Mr. Dennis and Mr. Brown particularly. While I totally agree with Ms. Carnes, that it makes a difference that, we have to be very careful looking at a use when we're looking at a zoning, because not only can we not control what happens on the property in the future, we also, to some degrees, are establishing a precedence for other rezoning requests similar. Now, I think what we could potentially do is based on, I think some of your statements, is maybe we should really look at whether a processing plant such as for deers or maybe other animals is appropriate in maybe the rural district. And maybe that's something we can look at within the code rewrite, because I don't think it's probably appropriate right now for us to start kind of nickel and diming our current code unless something major were to occur. But I do believe this is something that maybe we should look at with our code rewrite and maybe look to introduce it there if we feel that is warranted.
I certainly think that if we don't have a really good understanding of these types of entities and what potentially they may fall under as it relates to a zoning classification, you're absolutely correct that this gives us an opportunity to explore that and to make it a little bit clearer in our code. So thank you for that. Was there somebody else who had a question about this?
I had a few more comments about it.
Yes, sir, Mr. Dennis.
All right. Actually, Mr. Price hit the nail on the head. There are certain things out there that we have our hands tied to, and it's with zoning. But there's a lot of things that fit into rural areas that are needed, such as this. And to listen to the applicant and then have one supporter and then have one supporter to in support of it, but also knowing the people in the area and hearing them, you know, that's why I said the stuff that I said in support of it. But also, when you really get down and looking at it, we might need to start looking into the future about things. I know we're not supposed to look at the specific stuff, but at the same time, they are trying to do something for a community. And it's really needed throughout the area. If I don't personally use that stuff, but hearing people all the time, man, I wish I had this hunts out there, and that's about all you can do. And considering it used to be a motorcycle joint where everybody got together, partied, and had a good time and done donuts out the road, I think this would be a good thing. And a light industrial area, there's something that really caught my eye when I was looking at this. It said, such uses are usually controlled operations, relatively clean, quiet, and free or dust. In addition, such uses usually operate and or have storage within open or enclosed structures and generate no nuisances. So that's kind of why I am on the bandwagon for it, because it's generally a relatively safe zoning with light industrial. Now, once we start going above that, yeah, then that could be a definite huge problem. But that's my take on it.
Thank you, Mr. Dennis. Any additional comments on this case?
Mr. Chair, just one last one, if I could.
Yes, sir, Mr. Brown.
Seemed like it might be a good idea for us to see what we could, whether it's worth considering creating a special requirement or a special exception type designation for the rural district for things that might be related to these activities. So appreciate everybody's input on that.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Branham. Any additional comments on this case? Good discussion. If not, the chair will entertain a motion for case number 21-007MA. Any motions?
I'll make a motion to send it to county council with a recommendation of disapproval. This is
I second that motion.
case 21-007MA.
Okay, it's been moved and properly second that we send case number 21-007MA forward to county council with a recommendation of disapproval to support staff's recommendation. Any additional comments? If not, chair will entertain a roll call vote. Ms. Price.
All right. Gilchrist,
Aye.
Carnes,
Aye.
Yonke,
Aye.
Carlisle,
No.
Dennis,
I don't even know what we're voting on. I didn't hear anything. I tried to say something and then it cut out and some chicken scratch come back. So I don't know.
It's a recommendation to accept the staff's recommendation of disapproval, Mr. Dennis.
Nay.
Grady,
Aye.
Taylor,
Aye.
Branham,
Aye.
Ryerson.
Aye.
All right, the motion passes 7-2.
Okay, and again, we are a recommending body. They will, county council will meet back regarding this case on the 23rd of March. And for those interested, certainly can come back and share your perspective at that time. Thank you so much for everybody. All right, next case.
The next item is case 21-008MA. The applicant is, hopefully I'm saying this correctly, Jaitin Patel. The location is 10,040 Wilson Boulevard. The applicant is requesting to rezone a little more than 5 acres from rural to general commercial. Staff recommends approval of this request as it would be consistent with the objectives outlined in the comprehensive plan, as this falls within the Economic Development Center corridor designation. That is
Okay.
it. Chair.
Are there any questions for the staff on this case? If not, Mr. Price, do we have a person signed up to speak for this case?
Yes, we have a statement
Comment?
from the from the applicant.
Okay. We're ready whenever you are.
All right, we have a letter from the applicant, Jayton Patel. First of all, I would like to thank you for giving me an opportunity to express my opinion to propose a rezoning request of 10040 Wilson Boulevard lot. We are planning to develop this corner lot with a very modern style shopping center with maximum use of green energy. This shopping center will have modern style home decor lighting, showroom, little gym, healthy food franchise, restaurant, parking spaces with electric vehicle charging stations. The other 3 out parcels will have a national franchise, car wash, and coffee place. We have a very good team of GC and engineers to provide construction and require support services. This development will provide many quick services to the neighboring community, and this development could create about 68 to 78 new full-time/part-time employment opportunities for the community upon compilation of all 4 parcel development. Thank you. And that's the only comments that I'm aware of, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Thank you very much. Ms. Crooks, any comments for the staff?
No.
Additional comments about the case?
Mr. Chair, if I could.
Yes, Mr. Bradham.
Thank you. I was the one who asked that this be removed from the consent agenda. So I really just felt like it merited further consideration. That there's only residential uses occurring in that vicinity. It's relatively close to the intersection with I-77, but that I remember, I don't remember anything but residential all the way to the interstate. It's a 2-lane road. There's apparently, as I recall, there's no plans to widen it anytime soon. From the aerial footage on here, it's since been developed. I mean, those are just all houses there. Fairford Road, Bankwell Road, Camber Road, all that stuff. It's just houses, tracts of houses. As you drive down that street, it's neighborhood entrances, the back of houses, the front of houses. I know usually in the general vicinity of like an interstate interchange, we would seriously consider something like that. And I understand that this is broadly painted with that brush of economic investment area, but it did not at all feel like a general commercial district, and that location would be in harmony with the surrounding area. Did anybody else have any perceptions or thoughts on that?
Yeah, I kind of thought the same thing, Mr. Brandon. Mr. Pricer, you want to comment on that?
Mr. Crook.
So in regards to this one, this, as Mr. Random, you kind of alluded to, I think this is where lack of prescription with the future land use map and the way that those designations are described does not necessarily lend itself well to that. But in either case, staff is recommending approval because of the commercial uses that would go along with the GC district. That's a wide variety of uses, anything down to larger, employment style uses or smaller uses that are neighborhood serving services. So it does allow for a breadth of uses that could occur that would lend itself to the economic development corridor designation as well. So it's kind of a little bit of both, but in either event, it's per the comp plan, it is an appropriate district at this location.
Yeah, and I respect that staff's doing a very high level, somewhat targeted or limited analysis, if you will. It does feel like the term that was used earlier, spot zoning, might apply to this parcel outside of that broad brush painted the comprehensive plan designation for economic development in this area. Just doesn't seem to fit at all with the specific vicinity. So I'm happy to make a motion if there's no further comments from the commissioners.
Additional comments, Mr. Carnes?
Yeah, just, it's interesting is that, Jason, I can totally see what you're talking about, that why is this not the same as the last one if you're going to call it spot zoning? But I think that one of the things we try to accomplish is when you get a lot of residential development is that you have an occasional commercial spot so that you don't have to go super far to grab a cup of coffee, a gallon of milk, the sort of neighborhood things. I mean, I'm not sure if neighborhood commercial versus general commercial or something like that, but because this is at an intersection so developed and there's really not a lot nearby. I mean, I can see this one both ways. I mean, this is interesting that, yeah, we are being asked to drop commercial into an area where there's none.
Mhm.
Therefore, maybe that's right.
Is it the intersection you're referring to? Is this Marthin Road in Wilson?
Yeah, I mean, which is not, I mean, that road is not a interchange with the interstate. Obviously, Wilson Boulevard is as you go further up.
Right. Yeah.
North up, as you look at your screen.
Yeah.
But so I mean, it's just interesting because we do, I mean, the idea of that occasional, little node of commercial enterprise does sometimes actually reduce the amount of traffic because people aren't having to drive so far to get a couple of things. And when you get this level of density going on, having that little bit of commercial nearby is not a bad thing. So to me, it's actually quite different than the last one.
Because of what?
Just because you've got density.
Density.
And density supports the commercial use. I mean, just to try to avoid people having to drive forever to get stuff.
Yeah. All right. I'll make a motion, Chair, if there's no further comments.
Are there any additional comments?
I can comment. This is Chris.
Okay, Mr. Johnson.
I just kind of agree with Jason here. It does feel like spot zoning. And also we have to look at general commercial. Like this could be anything if plans fall through. And while looking at the map, it is really all residential. And then Marthon Road does not seem that long. It crosses over the highway, but there's not like an on-ramp to the highway. And it ends at Farrow Road. It's like a little connector road. So we're going to go ahead and say that general commercials, okay here, and it can become anything, all those different uses. I don't think we can really recommend a different zone right now. We have to look at it for what it is. So it does look like a spot zone here. That's all I gotta say.
Thank you, Mr. Youngkin. Any additional comments?
Briefly?
Mr. Grady, yes, sir.
Sure. I want to second Commissioner Carnes' comments. I think that I believe that actually the quantity of developed residential land actually merits some amount of commercial activity in a way that seems to be in line with the plan. And I particularly wanted to highlight her comment on traffic, that I think that's spot on, that there's, if you suppress commercial development, you're going to have people who are going to have to drive longer distances. And that's really what causes traffic, is when you have residential development that doesn't have any commercial development or other amenities nearby, and you have to get in your car long distances to do everything. So I just wanted to highlight that and second her thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Grady. Any additional comments on this case? If not, the chair will entertain a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Chairman.
Yes, sir. Was that somebody?
Have a comment?
Yeah, it was Commissioner Dennis.
Okay, Mr. Dennis.
Yeah, I don't know. Spectrum kicked me off, I guess. I don't know. But I'm on the phone. I missed all that. But I think I got the gist of what everybody's saying. So I'm just letting you guys know I'm back.
All right. Glad you're back. Yes, sir. Okay, Mr. Brandon, you were in the middle of making a motion, is that right?
Yeah, thank you. Yes, I'll move to send case 21008 MA to council with a recommendation of disapproval in large part due to the change in the district classification and the fact that there is no other property in the surrounding vicinity of that same classification. That's it. That's the motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and properly second that we send case number 21-008 MA forward to council with recommendation of disapproval based upon the recommendations and the comments from Commissioner Brown. Are there any additional comments on this case? If not, the chair will entertain a roll call vote. Price?
All right, the motion is for disapproval. Gilchrist,
No.
Carnes,
No.
Yankee,
Aye.
Carlisle,
No.
Dennis,
Aye.
Grady,
No.
Taylor,
No.
Branham,
Aye.
Frierson.
Ms. Frierson?
No.
Okay, that motion for disapproval fails
Okay.
3-6.
So we are.
I'm
They
sorry,
recommend.
there were three votes.
Mr. President, I think I have that. Is that? I thought I had 4.
Okay, I thought I had Yankee, Dennis, and Branham that voted for disapproval.
Approval.
And Frierson.
No, she voted
No.
against it.
Frierson voted. Was it Grady? No, Grady voted.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Can we do
Okay.
that again, please?
Yeah,
Just to make sure.
again.
Okay, we can do that again. Gilchrist,
No.
Carnes,
No.
Yankee,
Aye.
Carlisle,
No.
Dennis,
Aye.
Grady,
No.
Taylor,
No.
Branham,
Aye.
Frierson.
No.
Okay. So the motion is approved. And
No.
again,
No. The motion failed.
Yes.
I'm sorry, the motion failed, yes. And so we are,
No, Stephen, so I'll make a motion to send case 21.
hold on a second, Heather. So we have, Mr. Price, give me the final vote count tally on that, please.
We had 3 in favor of the motion for disapproval and
Okay.
6 against that. Against the
Okay.
motion.
So the motion fails.
Yes.
And we now will entertain an alternate motion.
All right. So I'll make a motion to send case 21-008 MA forward to council with a recommendation of approval.
I second that motion. This is Frierson.
Okay, Ms. Rice. So thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Carnes. So the motion has been made that we send case number 21-008 MA forward to council with recommendation of approval. Any additional comments? Not, Chair, we entertain a roll call vote.
Okay, Gilchrist,
Aye.
Carnes,
Aye.
Yankee,
No.
Carlisle,
Aye.
Dennis,
No.
Grady,
Aye.
Taylor,
Aye.
Branham,
No.
Frierson.
Aye.
Okay, that motion for approval passes.
Okay. Will you give us the tally on it? Will you give us the tally on that, Mr. Price?
Yes, six voted for the motion, 3 voted against it.
Okay. And so the motion passes. And again, we are a recommending body to county council, and they will meet on the 23rd of March to take this particular case up again. So thank you very much, everyone who attended our meeting today regarding our map amendments, and thank the staff for your work in helping us to get through that process, and to all of our commissioners. Thank y'all very much. All right. Next item on the business, the agenda, item number 4, discussion of opportunity zones.
Yes, Mr. Chair. I know this has been coming up on our agenda a lot, and we've kind of deferred it or to other meetings. So I think if nothing else, I think there should be at least a discussion on opportunity zones as far as what they are. And what it is that the Planning Commission may want staff to look at. It doesn't mean it's necessarily something that we have to take action on right now, but I do believe that since it's been on the agenda for quite some time, it may be good just to have a bit of a discussion to make sure that we're all on the same page regarding opportunity zones, and maybe the best approach to that the county as a whole should take on whether we should incorporate or not incorporate these into the county.
Thank you, Mr. Price, and let me thank the staff for doing your due diligence and coming back to our commission with just some information about opportunity zones, so that we certainly can make some decision about how do we move forward with at least entertaining what this could potentially be or not be for our county. So should I defer to your staff to at least walk us through what opportunity zones are, and more specifically, the potential of what we might want to look at with regard to this?
I believe we could discuss it, Mr. Chair, but I believe a lot of because of some of these discussions have come from discussions that we've had, that if you wouldn't mind kind of taking the lead and then letting staff come in along with you regarding what we see and how we envision it.
I'm delighted to do that. As a matter of fact, just in a high level, opportunity zones were initially voted on by the Congress, introduced by our own senator here in South Carolina, Senator Tim Scott, back in 2017. As a matter of fact, it was part of the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. Very simply, what it was designed to do was to provide a tax incentive as it relates to capital gains tax for individuals or companies that could realize a gain to be able to invest that back into qualified opportunity funds, so that those funds then could invest in low wealth and low income and distressed developed communities. And the opportunity around this is to really encourage things like economic development, something that we have talked quite a bit about, and obviously was a key consideration in our code rewrite, looking at things like affordable housing, which in many communities across South Carolina, that has become a staple for opportunity zones, building infrastructure and investing in small businesses and being able to upgrade infrastructure where it's needed. One of the things that the legislation allowed was for the gain that an individual or a company would actually take advantage of would be deferred until 2026, and can either be reduced or exempt depending upon how long the investor remains invested. And so depending upon how long someone would be invested in an opportunity zone, I believe it's up to 10 years, that particular tax would be totally exempt. And in every state, governors in every state went about designating census tracts to determine where would be the best opportunities to invest in opportunity zones. In South Carolina, we have over 135 opportunity zones that, and it's not limited to those 135. There are some exemptions that could potentially be considered if there are places and areas within your state where you believe that an area could potentially benefit from an opportunity zone. And again, it just creates an opportunity to be able to do some things that, quite frankly, gives investors the ability to come alongside government and economic development offices to really do something. And so when I initially brought this to the Planning Commission, it was in consideration of what we were doing with our rewrite. I think some of us had made a strong pitch during that time to really look at some way of our code being more engaged in trying to encourage economic development in a very aggressive way and through planning. And so the idea was that opportunity zones could potentially be a tool, another tool that both county council and our development community could, and our economic development community could potentially use to be able to help do that. And the question I offered to staff was whether or not we should take a look at whether or not opportunity zones should be some type of classification in the code, or if it should be some type of overlay district that we look at, but based upon what was identified through the census tracts. And so, you know, I certainly appreciate staff going out and doing research. I know the city of Columbia has mentioned opportunity zones as part of their economic development strategy. I believe the city of Charleston and several others. As a matter of fact, I'll be going to a county council meeting in our state tomorrow, speaking on behalf of the South Carolina African American Chamber of Commerce, which I chair, to talk about opportunity zones as it relates to small businesses. So it is an opportunity, no pun intended, and certainly would like for this commission to weigh in on your thoughts about whether or not we should at least think about how we can include it in what we do. You know, when I spoke to Mr. Price about this early on, it really doesn't. For me, it's no different than how we talk about the penny tax, for example. Within our code, whenever there's a project being proposed, we will write in our map amendments. We will write in the prospectus that a potential project is or is not a planned program. However we just frame it, initiative that would in some way be impacted by the penny's tax could or could not be. And if it is, we reference that. If it's not, we don't. I think the same thing could potentially be offered as it relates to opportunity zones, just to make the public aware and the council aware that there is an opportunity for a developer or a fund to be able to use that designation if it falls within one of the census tracts within the county. So I'll stop there and offer up any commentary from the remaining commissioners.
Chairman?
Yes.
This is Commissioner Dennis.
Commissioner, okay.
Hearing what you said, I highly agree with you on that. I do think as planning commissioners, we really shouldn't get in too much weeds of it as far as what it is, because talking about opportunity zones, there's so many things that can be used for. It can be used for commercial development. It can be used for residential. And I think the areas that would go into that are already zoned. But what we need to do is definitely reach out to the communities. I know there are some community organizations that are actually working with Senator Tim Scott right now here in the Midlands, here in the Columbia area, specifically Richland County looking at how they can get some opportunity zones going. I've been on talks with them a few times, and I'm looking to get more in depth. I think it's really up to us to push this towards county council and let them know it's there. And every day that we don't take advantage of an opportunity zone is one less day that we have to gain an advantage over somebody else in another state. So I really encourage us to really start looking into our communities wherever we lived, and anybody that we know that could take advantage of an opportunity zone, and start working with the community itself to get this done, and start reaching out to county council.
Thank you, Mr. Dennis. Certainly would agree with that. I think for purposes of, and I'll just go back and just echo what Mr. Dennis is saying. We can give the council another tool to use in every district where there are census tracts that have been identified to be opportunity zones. I think it absolutely makes no sense for us to have a designation that we can use and we don't inform the council about that. And so if it's the planning commission job to be able to ensure that when there are development projects that are coming before this particular commission, I don't see any reason why we can't do the research to determine that within certain census tracts, there is this particular development or proposed project falls within an opportunity zone. I just think that helps the potential development project. They may not even know, people who are developing this stuff may not even know that it falls within that in that designation, but it gives us just another tool in this county where we have had a struggle to develop economically, another tool to be able to do that and to be very creative about what some of those economic development projects can be. So anyway, I welcome some other thoughts from the commission on that.
If I might, Mr. Chair?
Yes, Brady?
Sure. So, I think there's definitely the ability to leverage opportunity zones, particularly in the context of a redevelopment and reinvigoration of the Columbia Place Mall area, which happens to be in one of the areas. I think one of the things, not necessarily a zoning or land use thing is, I know that from my experience, a number of communities develop sort of prospectuses that basically, advance to investors, hey, this is a piece of land that we're looking to redevelop, and it's in an opportunity zone to try to generate interest. And I think certainly, I'm sure the county is doing some of that already, but perhaps, repackaging specifically around the opportunity zone concept. The other thing I do want to note that kind of came up in work in my day job at State Housing Authority is that the opportunity zone boundaries are going to change because census tracts are redrawn after each decennial census. So we expect that sometime later this year, the map will look somewhat different. We don't know exactly how yet, because while census has internally determined what the new boundaries are going to be, they have not publicized that. But that would be something to keep tabs on, just to make sure that we have up-to-date information on that front.
I think that's an excellent point, Commissioner, that we are going through redistricting this year. And you're absolutely right. It will certainly look different, but anecdotally, I think that this may be a good time to begin to explore this for sure, given the fact that we're going through redistricting and what that will look like. So an excellent point to raise on that for sure. Thank you, Commissioner.
Chairperson Gilchrist, this is Commissioner Frierson. I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
I definitely agree that we do not want to miss out on any opportunities. And we have to, of course, maintain a great dialogue with county council. But in your opinion, what is the best way for us to be proactive, include county council, and make the community at large aware at the same time? Do we need an ad hoc committee? Or what is your recommendation as to what we can do to be proactive?
Well, I welcome an opportunity, Commissioner. Thank you for bringing that up. I welcome the opportunity for us to create an ad hoc committee for those who may have some interest in this. We certainly can work with staff to begin to think through what might be the best approach to present to county council in the form of whether or not it's some type of zoning classification or whatever the case may be, but to be able to come up with some ideas that we could offer to the council and be able to seek their guidance to us about how they think we should incorporate it or not incorporate it into what we're doing with regard to the code. I think bringing this up in light of the fact that we are in the process of rewriting our code may very well be appealing to the county council. So I welcome the opportunity if the commission so desires to have an ad hoc committee for those that are interested in serving. And we just kick our shoes off and think about what's the best approach to come up with a couple of recommendations.
Okay, well then, Chairperson Gilchrist, if you do appoint an ad hoc committee, I'd like to be a member of it because I'm interested.
Okay, great. Thank you, Commissioner Fryers.
You're welcome.
Are there any additional comments on this and from the other commissioners and staff?
Chairman Gilchrist, this is Commissioner Dennis.
Yes, sir, Commissioner.
Yes, getting back to the opportunity zones, I don't think an ad hoc committee is warranted here for us to do that. I really think that this should be something that the community gets involved. I think us as planning commissioners making our own ad hoc committee and then asking people to join, I don't think that's the right avenue to do this. I think personally, because we're not elected officials and we're appointed officials, I think us getting out into the community within our communities and working with people to get these opportunity zones going, because there's so many people out there right now working with Senator Tim Scott that's already ahead of the game. And I imagine it's going to be probably a month or two before we start seeing stuff coming in front of us. And I think we really have to be careful with how we do that in regards to if we have to rezone something with it, an opportunity zone, is it zoned right? If we're on that committee pushing it, then, and we don't use everything available to us, we could actually get into some of the weeds, like some of the cases earlier today that we had, and it could be taken the wrong way.
Thank you, Commissioner Jensen. One of the things that might be a better approach with this is to allow it to come from council and be able to suggest to council that the commission has had a conversation about it and to be able to explain. I'm happy to come to a county council meeting and be able to, at least from a high level, talk about why we think it's something to at least to consider, and then let council give direction on exactly how they feel like we should maybe move forward with that. What y'all think about that?
Yeah, I wanted to say too, I don't know where the County Office of Economic Development stands with it, whether and how they may already be incorporating the opportunity zones into their plans. So yeah, I could definitely see at least triangulating between council, potentially us and that office. Coordination would be great.
Yeah. Commissioner Dennis, were you going to make another comment?
I was also going to kind of suggest the same thing that Commissioner Branham just brought up. I think it would be good for us to get on County Council's calendar and actually start a conversation with them to make them well aware of this, and that there are plenty of us willing to help talk about it and getting it out into the community. I really think the community involvement is very, very needed in this, instead of us doing it for them. Because the community, they have the pulse of their community. They know what they need, and they have plenty of people out there that's willing to invest in their community that could benefit from this, not financially, but benefit their community. There's plenty of people that are willing to invest in their community.
Chairperson Gilchrist,
Yes,
just for clarification, when I made that suggestion, I did not mean to exclude the community. I just meant that we as a commission, as we try to go forward, if we needed to, I guess, brainstorm or figure out what our approach would be. That's what I meant by stating that I'd be willing to serve on such an ad hoc committee, not to take anything away from anyone or exclude anyone. That's all I meant, that we as a commission needed to get together and come up with concrete plans and not exclude anyone. That's
No, I
all
totally
I'm talking
agree.
about.
Yeah, I think you're talking about leadership, providing some leadership around the issue, and I totally agree with that. I think that's critically important. The other thing about the investment, as I listen to the cases today, for example, I mean, we don't know what had someone come to Richland County and offered to do a project, whether it's a deer processing center or whatever. How that could have potentially impacted our decisions regarding something like that, if in fact an area like that, that we were aware, both the staff and the commission, that this kind of designation, was there. So yeah, I would agree with all those points, and I just think sometimes that because of its implications. All right. Because of the implication of economic development, even your community development block grant office. I mean, there's so many overlaps in this that I think, and with the code, that it might be an opportunity to allow council to give us some direction, being able to present to them that this is a conversation that has come up on the commission on numerous occasions. We see value in being able to at least come up with some type of recommendation on what we do to move forward, and let the council give us some guidance about what that looks like at that time. Allow us to maybe put together a committee that can move forward with determining if in fact it becomes some type of overlay or whatever the case may be as it relates to the work that we do on the planning side. Any additional?
Chairman Gilchrist?
Yes.
Commissioner
Yes, sir.
What would be our best way to get on county council's calendar and possibly talking to them and then creating a town hall and getting some people interested that way? What would be our next step as a commission to really sit down with county council and get this rolling?
Mr. Price, would this be something that we put on the agenda for council? I asked to be put on the agenda for council. Hello.
So sorry about that. Just kind of thinking on top of my head right now. This may be it may be good to have this discussion with the maybe the chair, vice chair of the council at this time, or actually, or maybe yeah, have a discussion with them as to whether they what they feel is the best approach to getting this on the council agenda.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, if I could just comment.
Yes, sir.
I'm happy to take that up to our administration and determine if they're willing to have a discussion with the chair. And of course, we would invite you and any others from the commission that would you feel would need to be part of that conversation to move that up as part of a council agenda item.
Planning director, that sounds good. And once you guys can figure that out, then we can make the commission aware, and those that would like to be a part of, as Mrs. Ryerson described, as maybe a committee or whatever, those have interest in it could join us in a discussion with the council for sure.
Yes, sir.
Sounds like a plan. How's everybody else feel about that?
Sounds good.
Yep.
It sounds good here. I'm ready to rock and roll on it. We need to take the bull by the horns on this one and get this one going.
I agree. Well, I appreciate the healthy conversation and those who've done your research on this, and I see it as an opportunity. And my last comment on this, we can't do any worse to create another venue by which we provide another tool in this county to ensure that we're doing what we need to do to encourage and help with development in the most aggressive means, and particularly post COVID and all of the things that we all recognize will be with us for some time. It's going to require that we be very intentional about what we see on that front, and this is just another tool, and we hope that there'll be many others, but this is another tool that we can offer up to be able to help with the work that we're doing. So, again, I want to thank this commission for the work that you continue to do, and for not only your diligence around these issues, but your wealth of knowledge about how we should proceed. And I look forward to our planning director following up with the council and following back up with us on what our next steps could be on that. Make sense? Okay, don't all speak at once. All right.
Yeah, it does.
Okay, good deal.
Makes
Well,
sense.
I will leave it there, and then we don't need to take any votes on that, do we, Mr. Price?
No, sir.
Okay, moving right along in the chairman's report. Just any update on the rewrite?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair. Mr. Crooks.
Okay.
We are looking to get scheduled with council some one-on-one meetings to discuss the zoning map within their individual districts, have those conversations as we're going through this remapping process. Our target is to beginning to have the various pieces of the rewrite published either later on this month or early next, with the intent to bring it to y'all with a recommendation. I believe we're targeting March now, and then getting it passed through council later on, I think with the final adoption of June. So we are going through that process, finalizing the zoning map, as well as we had a discussion, I believe it was last week, with the consultant on comments and the recommended changes that we're that we recommended, and they are going through and making those edits now. So hopefully it will not be too much longer before you have that available, and we are looking to take action upon it.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Crooks. The only other thing that I want to just put on the commission's radar screen, and this is about site plans that are proposed when people come in to propose their various development projects. COVID has certainly changed how we all do business, from Zooms to just how we conduct business on a daily basis. And that is certainly impacting people who come before us asking and have asked for certain zoning classifications, all but to find out, and as they're doing their site planning and all, to find out that market conditions and other conditions have, due to COVID, may have caused some alterations in some of that. And so one of the things that I just wanted to put on this commission's radar screen, and we can talk about this at some point later, but to begin to think about whether or not we should have some remedy in place that allows people some type of forbearance, whatever you want to call it, to for those who may have been impacted due to COVID regarding their site plans and things that they may have proposed when they came before us or before county council, but things may have changed due to situations regarding COVID. Not suggesting that that's applicable to every case, but it may require us to think about whether or not on a case-by-case basis, that's something that we we entertain at some level. And so I just wanted to put that out there. I've gotten a couple of calls from folk whose situations have changed because of COVID due to the development plan that they had proposed initially. And there's some modifications that they need to consider or would like to consider if in fact that's an option. And I don't know who's responsible for that, but it has been brought to the Planning Commission's attention, and I just wanted to make sure that that I share that with our commission and our staff, and as we continue to move forward, if we continue to hear about those particular situations, we at least have some reference to that's happening. That's all I have on the chairman's report. Down to number 6, item 6, planning director's report.
Oh,
Mr. Chair, I didn't see it in the packet, but the results from the last zoning public hearing, we'll make sure we get that to the commission.
Okay, great.
Yeah, I believe the reason why it was not in the package was because in February when we met, we gave you the report of council from December, and because the council did not meet in January, there was no report of council to provide at this time.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for that, Mr. Planning Director and Mr. Price. Is there anything else to claim our attention today?
I believe the one thing that we may have discussed, you and I have discussed before, and I think this was something you were going to potentially take up with the other planning commission members, and that was about contact information on the website.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Price. Yes. Would you like to move forward with that? So I mentioned to Mr. Price that I had been inquired about why information from the Planning Commission in terms of our contact information is not on the website like other boards and commissions. And I mentioned that to Mr. Price, and he said, well, we certainly can bring that up. And I forgot to write it on my little list of things today. But if this commission is so inclined to have your contact information placed on the website, just as the other boards and commissions are in the county, I think that's something that for council to have. I think it's important for the administration and anybody else who wants to reach out to the commission. There is no reason why ours shouldn't be there, and other folks, other boards and commissions are there. So if there are if I welcome any comments on that from the commission. If you feel like you don't want anybody contacting you, that's fine. Or but if not, I think that's something we should look at and have staff just get whatever information you want available for people to be able to reach any of us.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, Mr. Chair, I was just going to point out, I think, and this is a discussion I think the Planning Commission should have, but I do think have some concerns with either, this is a kind of, should everybody's contact information be on there, or if the Planning Commission is comfortable with just certain members having their information on, because those will be the people that will be contacted by, I understand we used to talk about with council or even administration maybe, but with those people will also be the only ones contacted by citizens as cases come before you.
Well, I think that if we're gonna move down that road of putting our names on, I want everybody's name on the list. We're all commissioners, and we're all appointed by county council. So if we're going to put one person's name on the list, we all need to be on the list. If we're not going to put anybody's name on the list, then if we decide not to do that, then we don't do it at all. But if we're going to do it, let's make sure that we're doing it in concert with everybody.
I agree with you, I agree with Chairperson.
Mr. Chair.
Chairman Gilchrist.
Yes, sir, Mr. Branham and Brother Dennis.
Yeah, I was just going to say I'm disinclined to it just because I think we ought to try to promote a uniformity of communications between the public and the members of the commission as it relates to our cases. And we have a very reliable channel of communication in place. You know, we don't have like, we're not elected officials, so we just stand in a different position, being that many of our duties are quasi judicial in nature. So I know in the same way that, you know, we're not supposed to kind of be influenced at a one-on-one level, for example, at an on-site review of a property. I just would like to promote that uniformity of communication through an official channel along the lines of what we do right now. That's my 2 cents.
Okay, Brother Dennis?
I was going to echo that because I have no problem giving my stuff out. However, the emails that I use to receive email is my business email, and I would not want that business email tied to anything that has somebody sending some comments into. I think that is not right at all. So if we were going to do that and move forward, then the county should seriously look at giving us a county approved email to keep that stuff separated. I know sometimes when I'm on Zoom, if I don't get a chance, I can't change my thing because my Zoom is my business. It's paid for by my business. And sometimes I'm logging on as quick as I can and I forget to change the name. And I hate that because I don't want none of that to connect because it should not connect. So if county council wanted us to do something that way, we need serious ways of have communications come to us in a separate aspect than from our business emails.
No, thank you for that, Mr. Dennis. Mr. Price, at one point, I thought we talked about that the commission members would have email addresses. Did we not?
I know that has come up before. There was some concerns more from my IT department. Being that discussion took place a while ago, I'll be more than happy to get with my IT department and hear what their concerns were and maybe still are regarding providing email addresses to the planning commission members, and not just the planning commission, but other boards and commissions.
Mm-hmm. No, that makes sense. That makes sense. Well, any other comments from the commission on that? Well, and again, I mean, I think in light of the fact that we all offered ourselves up to be appointed by the council to serve the public, you know, anytime you're in the business of serving the public has the right to be able to reach you. And if we don't want that, then we need to think about whether or not this is something we want to do. Because I think at the end of the day, it is important to make sure that we're accessible. And if that accessibility means that we need to, look at maybe a county email, whatever. I mean, but you know, I certainly wanted to bring it to the attention of the commission and just see what your pleasure would be on that as we continue to move forward. And again, all of this is coming up because of what we're experiencing with COVID right now. I mean, it's just a different world, and it looks like it's going to be that way for a while as we tend to move forward. So anyway, thank you so much for your comments on that, and thank you, Mr. Price, for reminding me of bringing that up today for sure. All right, is there anything else that? So we'll let staff check into that and get back with us. Is there anything else to bring to our attention today?
Mr. Chair.
Chairman.
Yes, sir. Mr. Crooks.
I can let Mr. Dennis go first.
Mr. Dennis, okay.
Yes, sir. I just wanted to ask a quick question about the rewrite. You know, we had 2 cases today, and well, one case that I had a passionate plea for. Would that be something that we should start emailing them to look at something like that in this for like certain types of businesses that really fit in the rural area, but than it would a city or area? I mean, is that something, would that be the avenue I should really go, or should we look at something else?
Okay, I'm missing what you're asking me.
Like, so our code rewrite, would it be a good thing for me to bring up to the consultants, such as a deer processing plant in a rural area, because that fits a rural area,
Oh.
But it wouldn't fit on Polo Road.
No,
Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that does make sense. And you know what? It's interesting you bring that up because I wrote that down as a note. No, I think that is appropriate to, particularly, I think I may have asked during the proceedings whether or not we knew what zoning classifications these particular operations fall within, and we weren't really sure about that. So yeah, no, I think that's absolutely appropriate to ask that question.
Yeah, I just think it's because that's one thing we've just identified. So now I'm curious, once we identify that, what other things are going to pop up?
Sure. No, no, I'm sorry. I cut you off.
Oh, no, you're good. You're good. I'm on the phone, so nothing really works right. I guess Spectrum doesn't like me today.
Well, no, I think you make an excellent point on that. And, you know, here again, I think this is part of the reason why the code rewrite is so critically important. And so to the degree that our commissioners have that type of input, we certainly want to make sure that is at least considered as we bring a close to this rewrite. So yeah, I think that's an excellent point.
Mr. Chair, just wanted to, so Mr. Dennis, if you do have specific things like that, please send them to us. I mean, what exists as the previous draft, I mean, that's up on the project website, weplantogether.org. So if there's things on there land use wise that you're thinking, okay, this doesn't really make sense. I mean, I think now would definitely be the time to do that if you haven't already sent any of that stuff in. Like I said, I mean, this will be coming back before the body. And we are, once we have that draft available, we are going to be looking to have specific meetings, work session with you all as we have in the past. So that way we could get additional comments and feedback prior to the meeting and address those issues there as well going forward. So there's, you know, a variety of ways that you can, you know, have those things addressed right now. But, you know, if there's specific things like that, you can go ahead and send that to us. Or if you wanted to wait a few weeks, whenever we have the draft ready, you know, that's an appropriate time then as a work session or PC as well. But for things like that, yeah, you can go ahead and send it to us.
Okay, copy that. Yeah, I got the website pulled up. I was going to send something a little bit later this afternoon. I'll probably send it and bring it up in our work sessions.
Okay.
Great. All right. Good deal.
So, Mr. Chair, I just wanted to bring to the commission's attention, as you may or may not be aware, for those of you that are new, we've been doing the Sand Hills planning process for a while. Previously been describing it as the Pontiac planning process. So that Rediscover Sand Hills plan, we are getting to the point of being ready to bring that before this body and then council for adoption. So we're looking to have a draft plan available and ready for the public review next week. So I wanted to let you all know that that draft plan, we're looking to have that available next week. And then we are planning to have a public meeting on that draft plan on March the 24th via Zoom. And so I just wanted to make you all aware about that, to put that on your radar in case you wanted to take a look at that in advance, attend the meeting, what have you. But we're looking to bring that plan forward before this body later on in April with a resolution to take action on that and recommend that to county council as we have with previous plans in the past. So I just wanted to make you all aware of that. And I can forward on the various information to the project website for that process as well. So I just wanted to bring that to you all's attention and make you aware of those dates.
Great. No, and I'm assuming you'll be circulating the draft plan to the commission.
Yes, I can. Once we have it available, I will send that to you all as well. And then once we get to the, I guess the final draft, if you will, once we've had the public meeting, that'll definitely be sent to you all in advance of the April meeting as well, or when that's ready for action.
Okay.
I got one thing real quick.
Yes, sir, Mr. Dennis.
Yes, can you send that out to us in an email with all the dates of all the public participation too? Just so that we have all that?
So the upcoming dates.
Yeah, all the upcoming dates
Yeah.
and anything that the public can see, I would love to have that.
Yes,
And anything moving forward, I would love to have on anything we do. If we could just get a commission email to all of us to just list that stuff, because it helps so much having that information for us in the future.
Yeah, I can definitely share with what we're looking at for those next steps. Yes, sir.
I second that.
Thank you very much.
Great. Yes, absolutely. Any additional comments?
Has there been any guidance yet about us meeting in person again in the next several months? I've seen school districts meet. We go, we wear the masks. Any guidance yet?
This is the administrator. How are you, sir?
Good, how are you?
The county council just discussed briefly at our recent coronavirus ad hoc committee meeting that they're going to consider what the council may do concerning those meetings. But right now, they have not given any definitive direction as to what they will do and how soon they will do it.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Administrator, for that update. Sure.
You're very welcome, sir.
Yes, sir. All right. Any additional comments? All right. If not, the chair will entertain a motion to it. Mr. Dennis, you had something?
No, I'm good. My wife opened the door.
Oh, okay. All right. If not, then chair will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Mr. Chair, before you go, I'd just like to just point out, this is probably one of the better meetings that I think we've had in quite a while. Great discussion from the Planning Commission. And I think, as we continue forward, as we continue to have more discussions, and if you want to include staff, I think this will, make it so much better going forward.
No, thank you, Mr. Price. I totally would agree that great discussion today. And thank you for all the commissioners weighing in. Perspective is good, and it helps with getting us to the right place with the types of responsibilities we're charged with. So thank you all very much for that. And thank you, staff, for the work that you continue to do to help us stay on the straight and narrow. So thank you for that point. All right, Chair will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Mr. Dennis. Yes. All right, everybody. Have a good
Gonna take a vote on that?
Huh?
We're gonna take the vote on that?
Well, my hope is that there will be a unanimous vote, but Mr. Price, if that's something we need to do for the record, let's do it. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 All right.
And I
Thank you.
second.
Aye.
All right. Great. Thanks. Thanks, everybody.
Thank y'all very much. Y'all have a wonderful day.